Hi, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and today I'm going to show you some high-end dupes that I found on Kirkland's website. And we're going to start with dupe number one, which is this Dr. Seuss saying, which I love the saying, and it's $71.99. So what I have is this piece of art from Hobby Lobby last year, 90% off, so it was like $2.50. And I'm going to use the 80 grit sandpaper and then the 120 grit sandpaper to kind of sand down the front of it. And then I start using my antique wax on it, but that wasn't doing very good. So I used some acrylic paint, and it's chocolate something or another. It looks a little reddish, but it turns out very nice. So I just go over the whole front of the board, and I do the frame as well. I don't do anything to the back. And then I type this up on my Cricut and printed it out on vinyl. And I'm just applying that to the front of my board here. And I did cut the Dr. Seuss off because I wanted it to be lower. So I just use black vinyl, but it doesn't matter what color vinyl you use because it's not going to stay on the board. So I'm just peeling it off. And it did take a little bit of my paint with it. So what I did afterwards, I just took some more of that. I just took that transfer tape there and went over it a little bit more to take some more of the paint off in other areas, just to make it to look more uniform. You'll see me do that right there. So some paint come off and some of it didn't, of course. Sorry about my voice. I'm getting over being sick and it's taken a long time. So again, this is just where I'm trying to get some of the paint to come up. And now I'm going to take my apple barrel white paint and a dauber, and I'm just going to go over the front of the board. So I didn't go all the way to the sides. And now I am peeling up the vinyl. Now the paint was still wet. You might want to wait until it dries. You know, it's kind of hard to tell. When it's wet, you kind of mess it up a little bit sometimes with your tool. But when it's dry, it can peel up more of your paint than you want to come up. So you just got to kind of figure out how you want it to be. So there it is. Sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Dr. Seuss. And I love that saying. So, you know, always be aware of each moment could be the last. And there it is. Let me know how I did. Here it is with the Kirkland's piece. And mine was probably under $5. So versus $71.99. So the next one is this piece here. It's $127.49. Now, of course, it is bigger, and they do use metal. I'm not using metal. So this is another board that I got from Hobby Lobby last year, Christmas, 90% off. So again, it was probably like $2.50. And then I just removed that piece plaque, and then I'm going to remove the paper that's on it. Again, excuse my voice. And now I'm just taking that same white acrylic paint from Apple Barrel, and I just painted the inside of the plaque. And now I'm taking skewers from the Dollar Tree and some gold paint. So I just took several skewers outside, and I spray painted them with a gold Rust-Oleum paint. This is how they turned out. And so I'm just going to start cutting them down to the size that I need. And I cut the point side off because we don't want the point. And the end that I cut, I take some of the gold Deco art paint right there and put paint on the end of it so it's not the raw wood. And I'm just using hot glue to apply this, so I just put it on the board itself. And we're going to do the crosswise pieces first. And then once I get all those laid and cut, then I'll start doing the up and down pieces. Now this I did put on the skewer itself, but you got to kind of watch it. You might burn yourself with the glue. So I actually have the picture pulled up on my phone, and I'm looking at it while I'm trying to cut down my pieces and glue them onto the board. But remember, when I cut the piece, I always paint the end of it with that gold Deco Art paint. So I'm just cutting my skewers down to size, and then putting glue on the skewer itself, and then laying it down on my board. Now mine is a whole lot smaller than the piece from Kirkland's, and I probably should have used less skewers on it and and spaced them further apart. It might have looked a little bit better. But I did use the amount of pieces that they had on theirs on a smaller scale. And this last piece, I really should have left it off. Now to add the pieces going up and down, I'm going to add the glue to the skewers that are already glued down. So just a dot on each one where my top skewer is going to lay on it. And that's how I add each one to it. And again, I am looking at the picture on my phone so that I can see the placement. Mine's not exactly like theirs, but it's the general idea. And then just so you know, if you want a certain look or whatever, you don't have to spend the kind of money that they want for these pieces. You can make your own. I mean, I realize you're not using the quality pieces that they use, like instead of skewers, of course, they're using metal and all like that. But you can get the general look for a ton less money. Like this piece here probably cost me under $5. And as you saw, they wanted like $100 and some for it. And I use my miter shears to cut the skewers. And I just want you to be very careful when you're doing that. Make sure your fingers are out of the way. I did end up cutting myself, but yeah, it's fine now. It did bleed a little bit, but it wasn't life-threatening or anything. But I just want you to know, make sure your fingers are out of the way when you cut your skewers if you try this project. It did hurt. And then, as with any glue guns, just try not to burn yourself. I've had so many blisters from glue guns. It's like every time I use a glue gun, I get a blister. I am dangerous with glue guns. I mean, you need the glue hot, but that stuff burns your skin. Let me tell you, I've had some pretty bad blisters. I guess I should stop talking about it, but I'm sure if you all are crafters and you use hot glue guns, you know what it's like. But again, remember when you cut your skewer to paint the ends that you cut with the gold Deco Art paint or whatever gold paint you may have. And there it is. And here it is hanging on the wall. You'll have to let me know how you think I did. Here it is beside the Kirkland's one. I know mine looks a little crooked and stuff, but when you make yours, you can make it better than I did. So now we have this piece here that's $191.99. They're just empty frames. And so what I did was I took the tumbling tower blocks from a Dollar Tree along with that wood glue that they have, which is pretty good. And I made my own frames. Of course, you could buy frames if you want. But I thought, I'll just make my own. So this one here has 2 blocks on the sides and 3 blocks on the other side. So it's 3 by 2. And I just made them in different shapes and sizes. And I had the 72-piece blocks from a Dollar Tree that had the brown and the non-painted pieces. And I ended up using 3 boxes with just the regular pieces and then 1 from a 4th box. But if you can find the ones that don't have the brown ones in it, you'll use a lot less packages. And you don't really want them in squares, you want them in rectangles. The piece from Kirkland's had the rectangular frames. So once I get it cut out, I just Mod Podge it onto the round. And trim it up. And then we can set that one aside and work on another one. Now for this one, I'm just using some lace, and this used to be some lace from a curtain that I had, well, that I made actually. And I've been using it for different projects and stuff, so I thought it would be a good texture for this. So I just cut out a piece and doing the Mod Podge thing again and laying it on there. And then we'll trim that one up later. So that's two of the big ones. Now this here is just one of those tins from aluminum pieces from the Dollar Tree. You get 2 in a package. It has some nice texture to it. So I just traced it and cut it out. Again, I'm going to use the Mod Podge on it, but it doesn't really work too well. But you'll see how I fix it later. So I'm just adding my aluminum to my round. And then I get this roller here just to try to make it stick a little bit better. But really, you know, just use hot glue on these two. This is another aluminum pan from the Dollar Tree. You get 2 in a package, and it has holes in it. So I thought that would be a nice texture also. So I did the same thing, just cut it out, and I use Mod Podge, but really just use hot glue on these two. It does work better. So that's 4 of the 10-inch ones. And I'm just going to set these aside to dry. And for the last one, I'm using this burlap sack that I actually got for free one year. Again, I'm just using Mod Podge for that. And my roller. Now, once these have dried, I'm just going to trim up the lace one. Trim up the burlap sack one. And now what I'm going to do is take this clothesline. Now, the clothesline, I think I got it either Lowe's or Home Depot. So you want to cut the end of it at an angle and add some hot glue to it. And then just lay it around the top edge of each of the circles, the 6.5 ones, 6.5-inch ones, and the 10-inch ones. So you're putting it on the top side. And again, cut the rope at an angle and then add some hot glue so it doesn't fray. And that way when you put the two ends together, you don't see it as much as you would if you just cut them squarely. They kind of fit together a little better. So Now we're going to take another piece and go around the outside edge of each of these. And when you use your fingers to squish this in a little bit, wait until it cools off so you don't burn yourself. Fortunately, I did not burn myself at all while making these projects this time. I was amazed. So this piece of rope goes on the outside. And again, this is a clothesline, a cotton clothesline. It has like a cotton cord or whatever in the center, and it does fray a lot. And there's that one complete. And then we're back to the spider webby looking stuff. I'm just going to trim that up. There it is. And this is where I have to use hot glue on the aluminum pans because they did not want to stick with the Mod Podge solution. So just do yourself a favor and skip the Mod Podge on these and just use the hot glue. Because the hot glue did fine. The only thing is just be careful because it will heat it up. And I did switch glue guns. This glue gun worked much better for this project. So I'm just showing you each one of them. We have 2 small ones and 5 of the large ones. There's our lace one. And I just took them outside there and I spray painted them silver. And I get my spray paint at Walmart. So I just spray painted the top and around the edges. I didn't do the back. So I'm just showing you what each one of them looks like. Now this was kind of an experiment. So I'm using this chalk paint to start out with. And it was really thick. And I'm using a dauber. Because the pieces from Kirkland look like they had some white on them. So I skipped the dauber and then I used my finger. And I really wasn't liking how this was turning out with this chalk paint. Now I'm back to the dauber on another piece. Eventually, I go to my acrylic white paint and use a paintbrush. So I think that was the better alternative. Instead of using the chalk paint and a dauber or my finger, use a brush and acrylic paint. And I think that works a lot better. So skip the chalk paint and use the acrylic paint in white. And then use the brush. So I just had a chippy brush. So I'm just placing the blocks underneath my rounds here. And I put them, I really didn't like this setup. And I was using the 3-in-1 glue, which worked pretty good. That was the glue I used. But I didn't like how symmetrical this was. So I do change it. But I don't show that. You'll see that in the picture at the end. So where these were touching, I added the 3-in-1 glue. Now this glue I got at Hobby Lobby. I found that Hobby Lobby was the cheapest place for it. Even Amazon was more expensive. So I'm just putting some weight on these to hold them down so the glue will attach. I had some paper or some cardstock and a book. So here's what it looks like, and I'm just going to flip it over, put some clothesline on the back of it for a hanger. And I do use some of the 3-in-1 glue to attach the clothesline to the back. Later on, I do add some staples with my staple gun. And that worked out well. It's very lightweight because these rounds are very lightweight. Again, the 3-in-1 was from Hobby Lobby. And it's supposed to be like a quick hold, almost like hot glue, only you're not going to burn yourself. I find that it takes a little bit longer to set up than hot glue, of course. But like I said, where I glued those, I also did use the staple gun and put a couple staples in there to hold it longer. I don't show that on the camera. I'm going to flip this over. And after I hang it up on the wall, I decide that, I don't like the way it is, so I did change it. I took it apart just a little bit and moved the bottom circles. So here's the one from Kirkland's and mine. Of course, I know mine's not going all the way across like that one is, but let me know what you think about these dupes. Again, I'm Liz with Liz's Crafts, and I'll see you in the next video.